Hey everyone, you're watching Ash on Comics. My name's Ash. There's today's comic. Die, Die, Die. This is a comic that came out. No one knew it was coming out, not even the dealers. It just arrived the day before new release day when dealers get their books and they open up their shipments and was like, what is this? And they got the first issue. Apparently, my understanding is the print run was equivalent to whatever they had ordered on Oblivion Song. And this is sort of a throwback to the old 90s violence porn comics that were very early 90s, late 80s, where comics were really trying to push the envelope, and the Comics Code Authority was kind of pushed aside. They're like, oh, hey, we can make comics without the Comics Code Authority. And it's like, what can we do? And they just were trying to be as violent as possible. And most of it was just, gratuitous, and that's all it was. And so the shock value wore thin. This I picked up completely because of the credits. Robert Kirkman has proven himself. I think Skybound is proven itself. And I liked the marketing technique. I love it. I hate the gimmicks that are anti-consumer, like multiple covers and gimmick covers and all this stuff. This was simply, hey, surprise, it's on the shelf. And in today's day and age of the internet, where you can go preview comics months ahead of time and see what's coming out and order, they're missing something about going to the comic book store and being like, oh, hey, what's this? I don't know anything about it. And getting to look, that surprise is really cool. It's worth something. And it was worth something to me. I'm not opposed to violent comics, unless it's just that's all it is. And then I was like, what's the point? So I thought I'd give it a try for sure, at least the first issue. And the first issue I very much enjoyed. Like most first issues, of course, it's just setting up the following issues. So there was not a lot that happened, but I could see the potential. It was very intriguing. I wanted to know more about the story, so I got this, and here we are. Now, I'm going to kind of go through this one quick. I don't really want to spoil. I didn't show much at all of the first one because I wanted to keep to that surprise. I hope if this is the kind of book you're okay with, that if you saw the last video, you picked it up. So we start off, and we learn this first page sets everything up. So we have some time ago, a group of identical brothers learned that their father was an assassin for hire. Then, when their father learned that their sons had discovered his profession, he did the unthinkable, and he trained them. Here we can see, it's interesting that not the facial expressions here let you know that the three brothers each have distinct personalities. In time, they became the group of the most deadly and reliable assassins in the world. Eventually, they grew apart, and they went their separate ways. But rest assured, if you ever come face to face with any of them, you will die, die, die. All right, so it's kind of cheesy, but it's so done right, that opening. I really kind of get a little chuckle inside when I see that. And we open up, and this book plays. You can tell this is co-written by like a TV showrunner, because it plays very much like a movie or a TV show. We get this establishing shot of a location, which is a big thing to do in movies and TV. And comics do it too, but kind of usually in a different way. And here we have one of the main characters. So the three characters, if I have their names right, it's Nathan, Paul, and George, the three brothers. And they're grown up or whatever. And we have one of them right here talking to this contact about a certain piece of information they're going with. And she's like, oh yeah, as you can imagine, it was like what did she say? Of course, But I need to make sure one thing absolutely clear first. Nobody can know I'm here. Oh, I completely understand. Not completely, you don't. I'm sure you can predict what happens next. So he kills her. So these guys aren't necessarily good guys. I mean, they're assassins. And another thing, in case this was not clear from the get-go, this is not for kids. This review is not for kids. It's violence, sex. It's yeah. So, gosh, I really don't want to spoil like this book. We get one of the characters here, Nathan. He's off to try to help his brother. In the last issue, we saw Paul had his nose chopped off, and he was fighting another assassin. And he's now looking for him. He's got a guy he's helping with. Here we get a little sex scene of this Congress lady who we learned about in the first issue. She's kind of behind the scenes using these assassins. And there's a different senator going down on her. It's just all this like debauchery. The way that this book is presented is that like Congress is just completely everything that like Alex Jones believes that they are, like state, like that's in this fictional world. That's it. It's fact. These guys are just all seedy, evil, corrupt, just what have you, and will do anything for power. And including they have this whole assassin ring that they use to see, certain things they need done or people out of the way. And that lady, apparently, she's misused one of them, which is what the whole first issue is about. So this castle is sort of the center. There's going to be this auction for this piece of information that a lot of people in the world would want, this information. And we find out that the information is Paul. Like they captured Paul, and he knows all this stuff. So essentially they're going to auction him off. And whoever gets him, obviously they're going to interrogate him and get whatever he knows, and that's worth millions of dollars. So here we see in the background, George is following his brother, you find out, and he tags along. That's how he figures out what's going on. Now, here we see these people are not good. So at first there was a scene where their people are pulling up to the castle, and this guy comes out, and it's like, wow, what a castle! And at first I was like, what? Dude, people like this, they'll show up and exit their car and be like, wow! Like Jimmy Olsen style here. But you see the expression on her face. And, wonk. And you're like, what? Why'd you kill him? Yeah, because he embarrassed her. Seriously, like he's just a pretty boy, like that she picked up at some modeling studio or something. It's like, oh yeah, you're my boyfriend now. So I won't go into all of what's going on, but there's some super spy assassin stuff of infiltrating the castle and what's going on with these characters. And here you see Paul kind of in the background, and she ends up winning the bid. All this stuff goes down, and it comes brother via brother at one point on the rooftop as she's trying to get away. And you're like, what is going on? Why is brother fighting brother? Yeah, I want to just kind of give you a good view of the art, but I don't really want to spoil this book. I think this is a gem of a book, and I think I've given you enough to kind of see whether at least if this book is offensive to you or if it's in your wheelhouse, because those are completely two separate forks in the road. Now, if it is in your wheelhouse, the next question you're going to have is it good? And I think it is. It's not fantastic. It's not blowing my mind, but I see potential for that to happen. And I love the intrigue. I love these different factions working in the background, all corrupt. There's a secret society of assassins. Kind of reminds me of John Wick in some ways. Now that I didn't think about it till just now, because it has its own different take on things. But one of the things I love about John Wick is sort of that mythos. You're like, oh, they have this hotel, the Continental, and then like there's a society of assassins, like there's this code. This book kind of does that too. Like you realize, oh, there's a mythos and there's other assassin characters and how they all interoperate and work. And yeah, that actually, now that I think about this, it's very kind of John. If you like John Wick and you're okay with this sort of stuff, this is worth picking up. I will give this 4 stars and recommend. Move the needle. But be advised, this artist is a little bit confusing in his storytelling. So there were times where I was reading and I just was not following along what was happening. And there were other times where I was like, oh, this is relevant to what happened in the last book, and I don't have the last book handy right now. And I couldn't go back and read it, and I was like, oh, wait, it's because of these brothers. And I extrapolated some stuff, and I've explained stuff to you now, and I think now you going in, if you read it, and you know, okay, there's 3 brothers, there's Nathan, Paul, and George, you know, and Nathan's got the long hair, and Paul's got his nose shot. Like, you'll figure it out. It'll be, like, much more clear. But when I was reading it, I was like, wait, there's this 3 identical Asian dudes. Like, who's who? What's going on? Who's this guy now? Is that... I didn't know their names. Like, I was really thrown off. So just take your time. Know that. I think that information will really help a lot, not have the same problems I did. But I think also that confusion is somewhat intentional as well. So be understanding of that, because I think that they want you to constantly be trying to figure out what's going on. Why are these characters doing what they're doing? What's the real motivation? So this to me is a solid buy. It's a good book. I'm very interested in the next issue. That's a good sign. Whenever you're like, oh, I can't wait till the next issue, when you stop reading, that's a good sign of a good comic. And Skybound is doing good things. So I know their whole policy and how they do things. They have, I see with Oblivion Song, they have like the first 10 books done in the can before they even like publish the first one. That tends to be like their normal thing. So I know that you're not going to have delays on issues like this, and they're committed. They're not going to be like, oh, this book's canceled on issue 4, which is really getting annoying with the big 2. Well, I should just say DC, because I won't even touch Marvel these days. But with DC, it's just like, what, you canceled Immortal Men after issue 4? You let... So, commitment to books, really like that. So yeah, like I said, if this is in your wheelhouse at all, if you're okay, if you're okay with comics like this, then I get it. Try it out. It's good. Hope you like this. If you are getting this, let me know what you think. I do want to have a discussion. I like to hear, different opposing views, similar views, whatever. How I can make my videos better. Try not to be too harsh on me. I know I'm not a pro at this, but I just want to talk comics and hope we give you some value on different comics you may not be reading and might actually include them into your future pull list. Thanks for watching. Talk to you next time. Bye.